Though you know the fastest, most effective way to destroy a young person. It's not by getting them addicted to drugs, nor is it by getting them hooked on gambling. No, those are far too slow. The fastest way is to give them a high salary, far exceeding their actual needs, before they have had a chance to build any internal discipline or rational framework. Yes, you heard me right. Give them money, a lot of money. It's like taking a kid who has just learned to drive a go-kart, strapping him into a Formula One car, and saying, good luck. The outcome is inevitable. Either a fiery crash or a lifelong fear of speed. The people are always quoting me on that line. The poor are poor, not because they earn too little, but because they spend too much, and asking me about it. They think I'm talking about a simple arithmetic problem of money. That is a colossal misunderstanding. I have never cared about the arithmetic. I am talking about a problem of mental survival. Every time I say this, someone jumps up and says, I don't understand the hardships of the common person, that times have changed. They might have a point, but a fact is a fact, and it doesn't change its shape just because it sounds unpleasant. Today, I don't want to argue. I just want to share some observations I've gathered over nearly a century, observations paid for with my eyes, my brain, and with cold, hard cash. You all think that wealth is a numbers game, that a person earning $60,000 a year is certainly worse off than someone earning $600,000 on an accounting statement. That's correct. The real world, that's insanity. I have seen far too many lawyers and doctors in expensive suits, driving nice cars, with million-dollar salaries, whose mental state is more fragile than that of a plumber. Why? Because they aren't living a life. They are participating in a never-ending, utterly foolish status competition. And who wrote the rules for this competition? The people who want to take money from your pocket. They define a house as a symbol of class, a car as a man's reputation, and an expensive vacation as a way to love yourself. And so the more you earn, the higher the entry fee for this competition becomes. Your house has to get bigger. Your car has to get fancier. Your children's school has to get more expensive. Your income number goes up, but your degree of financial freedom actually goes down. You become a high-salaried slave, chained down by the very lifestyle you've created. You are not enjoying wealth. You are performing success, and the only audience is your own increasingly anxious, vain ego. And what is the cost of this performance? Your real freedom. So, we first need to get a basic question straight. What exactly is wealth? The wealth is not the number in your bank account. That's just a temporary marker. True wealth is a capability, is the measure of time. You and your family can continue to live a high-quality life after you decide to stop working for anyone without having to answer to any boss. Is it a year, 10 years, a lifetime? This and only this is the one true measure of your wealth. When I define it that way, you can look back at that person earning $1 million a year, but living paycheck to paycheck. Is he wealthy? He's not worth a dime. His wealth is negative, because the moment he stops running on that treadmill, his entire house of cards will collapse. Expelled from Eden. You learn the wisdom of frugality. This inevitably brings us to that word, so stigmatized by modern society, frugality. When young people hear the word frugal, they think of stinginess, cheapness, and living a miserable life. This is a complete and utter misunderstanding. Frugality, in my view, is not a consumer behavior at all. It is a mental discipline. is a form of spiritual independence. It's not about preventing you from buying nice things. It's about giving you the freedom to not be held hostage by nice things. When I was young, the house I lived in was shabbier than those of some of my own employees. People thought it was incredible. How could a partner live like that? But I'll tell you, I slept more soundly in that shabby house than anyone else. Why? Because I knew that while I didn't own much, I owed even less. My cost of living was as low as the horizon, and that gave me an immense power of choice. If the market crashed, I could laugh it off. If I disagreed with a partner, I could slam my fist on the table and walk away at any moment. No luxury mansion or fancy car could ever give me that kind of security. Warren Buffett is the same. To this day, he still lives in the same old house in Omaha he bought in 1958. People treat it like a legend, but it's not a legend at all. It is the ultimate expression of rationality. Why doesn't he move? Because that house satisfies all his needs for a home. Any consumption beyond one's needs is a mental burden. You buy a giant mansion, and now you have to spend time maintaining it, worrying about its location, taxes, and market fluctuations. You don't own it, it owns you. The modern consumer society is in essence the giant desire amplifier. The entire advertising industry is just a bunch of very smart people racking their brains every day, studying how to exploit the psychological biases in your brain to make you engage in irrational consumption. They use your social proof tendency by telling you everyone is buying it. They use your envy, jealousy tendency to make your heart nache when you see your neighbor's new car. They use deprival superreaction tendency by creating limited time offers that make you feel like you're losing money if you don't buy. Their entire business model is built on making you feel good, not on helping you do right. They make you believe that happiness can be bought, that self-worth can be priced with a brand tag, the chende. And so when young people get their first paycheck, they don't think about saving their seed capital. They go out and buy the latest smartphone or a designer bag. They call it treating themselves. They think money is for enjoyment, but they forget that money is first and foremost there for buying freedom and options. Remember, the key to wealth growth will always be that old saying, earning more is never as reliable as spending less. Why? Because how much you can earn depends largely on external factors. The environment, industry, cycles, even luck, all things you can't fully control. How much you spend is 100% determined by you. You cannot predict next year's stock market return, but you can absolutely prevent yourself from maxing out your credit card. In a world full of uncertainty, grabbing hold of the things you can control and abandoning the illusion of control over the things you can't. That is the core of rationality. The tide goes out. All the sophisticated lifestyles built on debt and impulse will prove to be as fragile as sandcastles. Those who practice restraint will find they've been standing on solid ground all along. The security trap. Your head is your only true shelter. This brings us to another even bigger illusion, security. Too many people spend their entire lives chasing so-called external security, a stable job, a rising stock market, a kind boss, a reliable pension plan. They think that by entrusting their future to these things, they can achieve a sense of safety. Tell you a brutal truth. True security is never in a bank account, on a property deed, or in any employment contract. It exists in only one place inside your head. I lived through the market crash of 1973, and I witnessed the financial tsunami of 2008. I saw countless supposedly secure people, the middle class, with their houses, cars, stocks, and funds panic like headless chickens when crisis hit. Their security was evaporated by the market overnight. Why? Because their sense of security was built on the stability of an external system. History teaches us that every external system will inevitably experience cycles and collapses. The truly wealthy, however, are built differently. Their security comes from within. It comes from their mental models for viewing the world, from the rational framework they use to make decisions. Even if you took all their money away and dropped them in a strange city, as long as they still have their minds, they would quickly get back on their feet, because what they possess isn't money. It's the ability to create value and make sound judgments. That is the only asset that can never be taken away. Nassim Taleb has a word for it, the anti-fragility. I think that word is 1,000,000 times better than security. Security seeks stability and the avoidance of the shocks, which simply doesn't exist in the real world. Anti-fragility, on the other hand, is the ability not just to survive volatility and chaos, but to become stronger because of it. How do you build your own anti-fragility? It's simple. Just use inversion. What makes you fragile? Excessive debt. A small gust of wind could lead to your ruin. What makes you fragile? A single source of income. One round of layoffs and your world collapses. What makes you fragile? An extravagant lifestyle. Your expenses are nipping at the heels of your income, leaving no room for a buffer. What makes you fragile? Never learning and relying on past experience. The world changes and you become obsolete. Conversely, what makes you anti-fragile? Ample cash flow and extremely low debt. The market crash isn't a disaster for you. It's a once-in-a-lifetime discount shopping opportunity. The clear judgment. You can maintain basic common sense when everyone else is going crazy. The discipline to resist temptation. You can distinguish between wants and needs and refuse to pay for vanity. The continuous learning. You build an interdisciplinary latticework of mental models that allows you to see the essence of a problem from multiple dimensions. The Panquai. So stop pinning your hopes on any external security. The only thing you can rely on is the constant sharpening of the toolkit inside your head. It's like how you can't control the weather, but you can decide whether to build a hut of straw or a solid house of stone. Some people say spending money on happiness is worth it. That statement itself isn't wrong, but most people have the definition of happiness all mixed up. Their buying is a short-term spike of dopamine, not the lasting well-being of endorphins. An expensive meal, a new piece of clothing. How long does that pleasure last? A few hours? A day? And then what? The deeper emptiness and the anxiety of the next bill. Then what is true happiness? It's the intellectual satisfaction of solving a difficult problem. It's the inner peace that comes from watching your savings account grow steadily. It's the power of being able to say no to people and things you don't like at any time. That kind of happiness is lasting and valuable. The expensive price paid to post a few photos on social media is in essence trading your life's most precious resource, time, because time can be exchanged for money, for a few meaningless, cheap likes from strangers. That terrible, terrible trade, the ultimate test of keeping wealth. Character and human nature. All right, let's assume you're very lucky or very capable and you've made a lot of money. Is the game over? No, the real test had just begun. I've always said, getting rich tests your rationality, but staying rich tests your character. I've seen too many people who were diligent, humble, and restrained when they were poor. The moment wealth arrived, they became different people. They became arrogant, blind, and wildly extravagant. Why? Because money is a powerful amplifier. It will magnify the most hidden weaknesses of your character to a level that will terrify even you. Los Angeles is full of these stories. Some lucky person gets rich overnight from a single project or a lucky speculation. And then what? They buy a mansion, throw parties, they surround themselves with all sorts of friends. They use a lavish lifestyle to prove their success and use borrowed respect to numb their inner insecurity. They forget that wealth is merely a reward for a past period of discipline and rationality. It cannot by itself replace future discipline and rationality. Eventually, when their character no longer deserves their wealth, the wealth will find all sorts of ways to leave them. The bankruptcy, lawsuits, alienation from friends and family. The script is always the same. The true masters are not those who can be frugal when they have no money, but those who remain restrained even after they have it. The Warren could buy any private jet company he wants, but he still flies commercial. He could buy the world's most expensive steakhouse chain, but he still uses a coupon to eat at his favorite McDonald's. This isn't for show. It is a deeply ingrained way of thinking. Their entire lives, they have been searching for value, for things where the price is below the intrinsic worth. This way of thinking applies just as much to buying a stock as it does to buying lunch. They will not pay an exorbitant price for brand premiums, for emotional value, or for anything else that is intangible. They understand that wealth is not a medal to be worn on your chest. It is a responsibility. It will test you, tempt you, and try to change the way you think. If you let it succeed, you become its slave. The rational person becomes more stable with wealth because they have a larger margin for error. The foolish person, on the other hand, accelerates their own destruction with wealth because they now have unlimited capital to put their foolish ideas into practice. Many people think that earning enough money will bring them freedom. This is another massive misunderstanding. The contrary, the more you own, the more you are bound. You have a big house, and you have to worry about its market value. You have a great reputation, and you have to fear public opinion. You have a high social status, and you lose the right to be spontaneous and free. The true freedom comes from needing less. When you no longer need to prove yourself with consumption, no longer need to be defined by the opinions of others, and are no longer led around by an endless chain of desires. That is, when you have truly mastered wealth, instead of being enslaved by it. Slow is the new fast. Finally, I want to talk about speed. This era, everyone is chasing speed. Get rich quick, succeed fast, see results immediately. All sorts of trends, all sorts of hot sectors. This concept today, that fad tomorrow. People are like a herd of antelopes, driven by information anxiety, running frantically without knowing where the finish line is. My philosophy in life, if condensed into one sentence, would be this: get rich slowly, but make sure you stay rich forever. Those who chase trends, those who try to predict the future, those who are in a hurry to prove themselves to the world, they might pull ahead at one corner, but they often end up crashing and burning at the next, even sharper turn. The speed they are chasing is a fragile speed, one that cannot withstand any unexpected bumps in the road. What are those seemingly slow people doing? They are building their circle of competence day after day. They are quietly reading and thinking in places where no one is watching. They are letting the most powerful machine in the world, compound interest, quietly work on their knowledge and their capital. They refuse to dance when others are greedy, and they refuse to panic when others are fearful. The slow, in this context, is not laziness. It is a deliberate restraint. It is the wisdom of refusing to be held hostage by short-term illusions. It is the clarity that comes from seeing things for what they truly are. You move slowly enough, you can see the scenery along the road and discover the massive opportunities that the runners have missed. You think slowly enough, you can penetrate the surface noise and get to the core of a problem. You accumulate slowly enough, your foundation will be so deep that it can withstand any storm. You have built a foundation that is solid enough. When you see the true direction with clarity, then and only then can you naturally move very fast. The kind of speed that is unmatched, unstoppable, and truly meaningful. All right, I've said my piece. I know these views are bound to be controversial in this day and age. Some will say consumption drives the economy. That's true. But my job is not to drive the macroeconomy. My job is to ensure that my family and the capital I manage can safely and rationally navigate through one economic cycle after another. Some would say, life is short, you have to enjoy it. I agree with that too. The greatest enjoyment is possessing a clear mind and the freedom to control my own life. Others will say, those who got rich just got lucky with the times. Luck is certainly a part of success. No one can deny that. Luck only favors the prepared mind. When opportunity comes, the vast majority of people either don't see it or see it, but don't have the ability to seize it, or seize it, but can't hold on to it. In the end, what determines whether you are poor or rich is not your income number, nor the era you live in. It is those principles in your head, the ones that are the most basic, the most simple, and the most easily ignored. Do you understand now